How do you like our banner?
Nice.
Good. Some of the painters are here today. Hi, guys. It's pretty cool. And many of you, I think, at this point know, right, that we brought it with us to Natick Days yesterday as part of our attempt to explain ourselves at the church table, to accurately describe who we are and how we see this community. And as some of you know, this can actually be something of a challenge. It's a challenge for any nonprofit, really, and it's a challenge for many businesses who spend large amounts of money trying to explain what they do to other people. But it is a challenge for a church, and a liberal church like ours, in a very specific way, thanks to the weight of history when it comes to perceptions about religion. For example, here's something that probably doesn't happen to many of you unless you are named Donna or Jared. But I think you'll be familiar with the story, Donna. It illustrates, however, the sort of difficulty that we as a community face when trying to get our message out. You see, every once in a while, I will be in a social situation somewhere with a large proportion of non-clergy. It really does happen. And I'll say something, perhaps a tad off color, which also does happen from time to time. Or maybe I order a beer, or maybe I declare something about myself that seems a bit odd, like my love for the song stylings of the atheist folk singer Frank Turner. And then someone will get that little smile, this one. And they think they're pretty clever. So they say, "You know, Adam, I thought you were a minister." You see, people find it surprising sometimes that I spend my time doing something other than sipping tea, studying the Bible, praying on my knees, presumably, and listening to Handel's Messiah. People have a very strong idea of what church is like, and by extension, they have an idea about what ministers are like. A majority of people, whether they have attended church in the past or any house of worship or not, have come to see religious institutions today as being staid and boring, conservative places filled perhaps with grim, judgmental people, uninterested in the world about them. And evidence to the contrary, like hopefully me, and certainly you, is surprising to them, but not always convincing. And when these sorts of moments do happen to me, and I have these encounters, I usually let them pass. I give them a laugh, you know, ha. Because really, the stereotype of my people, American clergy, is so strong that there's little I can do in a brief moment with someone I don't know to change their minds. But then, every once in a while, I feel the need to explain myself and to reassure people that I am not part of that church, whatever that church may be to them. And in a way, when we all talk about our congregation to people who do not come here on Sunday morning, that's what we all do. We all, each of us, face that same sort of challenge. That church, that doctrinaire, conservative, traditional church isn't our church. But it still exists today. It exists in reality, in other congregations. But even more so today, it exists in the minds of many people who have probably never been to that church or to this one. And that was the challenge that we faced at our table at Natick Days. And that was what we thought about when designing this banner, which bears the slogan, as you can see, I think it's on this side. Thank you, Rosemary. It says, "Many faiths, one church." Many faiths, one church. And that makes us a little bit unique. See, that's a statement that acknowledges the fact of life that was described by Lao Tzu so long ago. That existence is beyond the power of words to define, and terms are used, he says, but none of them are absolute. We at Eliot Church come here with our own words, our own ideas about the ultimate reality. Some say consecration, others call it God. And together we come to this place and we build a community out of the diversity of our beliefs. And that's a departure from many churches, including many churches that we are quite friendly with. And yes, some people noticed our slogan yesterday and wondered about it. Because while on most Sundays we declare that we bring many gifts, and our brochure says that we come from many backgrounds, few congregations, if any, would find those words to be strange at all. We all have gifts. Every being that walks the face of the earth, we all come from different backgrounds. That's what every religious community is about. But then we take it one step further. And we say that we have currently many faiths, many different faiths. And we're proud of this. We even encourage it. We encourage a broad range of perspectives in our community, ranging from traditional Christians to non-Christians to Jewish people and Muslims and Hindus to atheists and agnostics and, dare I say it, the indifferent. Well, now we're going to a place in the religious landscape that is somewhat less populated, isn't it? Yes, many traditions and many people from many traditions have doubts. They may even discuss those doubts publicly. But for most congregations of whatever tradition you might choose, there is an assumption that at least on those issues that pertain directly to the nature of God or gods, there is some sort of consensus around what you should believe. What you should believe, even if you don't believe it yourself. And then we come along, our church, and our free and liberal church tradition. We're not like that so much. Instead, our tradition and our church require the sacred collection of differences of opinion for the sake of a spiritual quest. A quest that it is deep and that is broad. Now, we do have a consensus, of course. Jared asked the kids about it a little bit. Consensus, but what we agree on isn't so much in those areas, but instead in the area of process and approach. We agree in a way to face our faith, and it is an approach that works best with multiple sources, multiple questions, requiring us to look forward into a world based on diversity in all of its manifestations, both good and bad, while also looking back and grounding ourselves in the stories of the past. Frederic Henry Hedge touches on this when he talks about those 4 points of the compass applied to our spiritual quest. There's that compass point for the liberal and ever-changing interpretation of sacred texts. And there's one for mysticism, the personal, subjective, ongoing experience of the divine. But at the same time, there is a compass point for rituals, old rituals, and new ones. Old ones like communion, and new ones like our in-gathering water service that we had on Sunday. And then there is that final point. It's actually the one he starts with. The point for what Hedge describes as our conservative side. Its fixed fact. Its morning sun of unchangeable verity. And engaging with all these points in our approach means that we can read something like that passage today from the Dead Sea Scrolls. As you have said by the hand of Moses, who forgive transgression, iniquity, and sin, rebellion, and unfaithfulness, we can read that, we can hear that, and we can appreciate the poetry of the words, the sentiments struggling to be expressed, while at the same time realizing that what we hear 2,000 years since its writing is impacted by our own experience of the often unexplainable. And in that very same way, we connect to those words of the 23rd Psalm when we are in need of comfort. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Even though our experience and our belief in that Lord and shepherd may have been challenged and changed in ways that the author of the psalm could never have anticipated and maybe wouldn't even have appreciated. Congregations like ours can be hard to understand sometimes. It can be hard for people who observe us to understand. It can be hard for us to understand. And not because we're some kind of new elect, too sophisticated and advanced for others, but wouldn't that be great? No. It's merely because people aren't expecting to find us. They think we don't exist. We're the leprechauns of the church world. And we are hidden in plain sight. So another reason why we were at Natick Days is that we don't really feel like hiding. This great, ever-changing, constantly adapting community of many faiths and no faith. And it deserves to be noticed. It deserves to be celebrated. It should be seen and heard as an example of another way to worship. Another way to walk the spiritual paths that we all walk, whether we want to or not. So let's take a moment now in silence to think about the journey we take together and the ways we choose to articulate our faith of many faiths.